Good evening, and thank you for joining us again on our Happy Divorce live stream. Tonight we're going to be talking about co-parenting and communication. And as always, I have my two lovely co-hosts. Even on vacation, one of them is joining us. So Susan and Kate Anthony, welcome.
Hey, everybody.
Good to have you guys. Susan, where are you? Tell people. It's so
I am
exciting.
in New Buffalo, Michigan, on Lake Michigan. Beautiful New Buffalo.
And we do need to make a disclaimer, or at least a warning, that she's already cut out once because of her internet. So there could be a good chance that she cuts out. But she's here now. Tonight we decided to talk about communication and the importance of it, especially with your co-parent. And I couldn't think of a better guy to have on who, the minute I met him and heard his story, we've bonded sort of, unfortunately, under a juxtaposition of circumstances. But nonetheless, what he's done with his app Fayr, and trying to have people have a better outcome for their divorce. And so we are honored and just blessed to have.
We will all feel the ripple.
Well, unfortunately, Ben forgot to push unmute. So all those nice things that I said about you, Michael, were not recorded or broadcast. So we have with us tonight.
So they've just been seeing us miming?
Yeah, just like, hi, how are you?
Hi, everyone.
As always, Kate Anthony, who is the host of the award-winning podcast, the Divorce Survival Guide podcast, and Susan Guthrie, who is the host of the Divorce and Beyond podcast. And they join me every week, and we pick a topic, and we sort of just talk about it. And tonight we're talking about communication and co-parenting and the importance of it. And we've asked a guy who I met, I don't know, about a month ago, through probably Susan or Kate or somebody, and we just hit it off right from the start. And he has committed his not only time, treasure, and talent to this project, but also his heart and soul. And it is a robust system. It's an app called Fayr, and he is, I guess, made it, his mission now to try to, Michael, tell us about your experience with divorce. I don't want to go, say anything that I don't get anybody in trouble, but, I know you've had a sort of different situation than, our happy divorce.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that's accurate. Yeah, Ben, I don't think there's anything that unique about my situation. I think it's probably more the norm, unfortunately. But yeah, I think it's the approach I've taken that may be a little different. I really do think communication is an important factor, how we relate to one another. There's so many things that end up escalating unnecessarily. We're all different people, so we're going to have disagreements, we're going to have misunderstandings, but it's how we handle those. It's how we choose to respond to those things. I tell people all the time, it's Fayr. It's not that I don't know how to spell, but it's spelled Fayr because it is an acronym, and it stands for Family Advocacy is Your Responsibility. And I always say I focus on the word responsibility because it's being response able. It's having the ability to choose our response to give any given circumstance, and we can choose to get aggressive and upset about things and get bent out of shape because we don't think things are fair. And we should strive for fairness. But I always say, like, if you're not going to be generous, at least be fair. And yeah, I think being fair is being effective.
And so, if you're watching the live stream, feel free to make comments, questions. You have a wealth of knowledge, and I'm not talking about Michael or myself. I'm talking about Kate and Susan, and can help you. If it's on topic or off topic, please just feel free to pop a comment in the comment section of the Facebook thing. Mike, what made you want to start this app and put a successful home building career to the side and focus your energy on this?
Yeah, I don't view this as a departure from building homes in a metaphoric way. I'm building homes in an emotional way, right? So yeah, it's rather than in a literal sense, it's in the metaphoric sense. We do want to focus on families, because honestly, there's oh, look at that, that's cool, sharing my website. Yeah, there's just such an opportunity here to better things. My own personal situation was I found myself overwhelmed constantly by the arduous task of reconciling daily logs every night on matters such as time sharing, pickups, drop-offs, expenses, messaging, and the like. And all of these things, it can be very difficult. It's a bad way to end your day, is to say, okay, I got to go back to these journals and write down all of this stuff. And sometimes they're heated exchanges. And then the frustrating part is when I'd show up at a court motion or whatever, and you can just be accused of making it all up. And I wanted to create something that maybe you'd get rid of all of the ambiguity and communicate together on things. Because listen, let's take expenses, for example. Everybody's convinced that they spend more than somebody else, right? Everybody's convinced, because we keep a good mental inventory of our own contributions, but we don't keep track of what other people are contributing. So I wanted something to just take out all of the, so we could document on the fly. So as life is happening, I could just track it, log it, and forget it. And my co-parent could see it too. With that transparency, you can just see, like, Fayr has a really nice pie chart that just shifts in real time. So the minute I log an expense, it's up there. My co-parent can see it, how much it was, see the item, see the receipt. And we keep track of things that way. And that way, you don't have these little moments in your life of just getting butt hurt when you feel like, oh man, I'm being worked over. And anyway, I think that's just one example of why it is that I built it. I wanted something better than what was out there, because there were other platforms out there, but honestly, I'm not mentioning names, but 1.7 star rating in the App Store. And so I read hundreds of the reviews, and I learned from all the arrows in their back, what's working, what's not working, how can I make this better. I listened to experts like Kate here and Susan, like them. I didn't know them yet, but people who had been in the industry for a long time. And what is it that they want to see? How can we make this the best co-parenting app for everyone's co-parenting needs?
So you did make an appearance on Planet of the Apps, and one of the panelists happened to be, I guess, the one and only Gwyneth Paltrow. Not to name drop too much, but I think that it's a testament to you that not only did she want to come aboard, but you have people like Kate and Susan, and so many other of your, the list goes on and on. People can go on the website themselves and see these people and who they are in the industry. And it's not by random occurrence that they have chosen to ally themselves with you. And so the importance of communication, that's sort of what, and I got a little cute with the, I think I could still put it up here, although it'll cut off everybody's face, but I got a little cute with the name of co-parenting, co-communication, because, for Nikki and I and Kate and Susan, please jump in. But the importance of it and the importance of, the co-prefix, I always talk about being together. And I don't know if Nikki and I, because of the fights that we get into today are usually by the way of text or email. And I think they had text when we got divorced. I'm not trying to play the old guy here, but we did most of our stuff, even though I am the old guy. But they did have cell phones, but I don't think text messaging was as part of our lives as it was or it is today. And we sat face to face, and we had phone conversations, and so there's so much that can get lost in translation. I know obviously the app, a big part of it is the communication tool, but Kate and Susan, Susan, why don't you take it first, of the importance of communication and what you would recommend as a mediator and where you see some people maybe going wrong?
Yeah, communication is actually everything. And I have to say, one of the reasons, Michael and I met about 2 years ago at a conference, and he was talking about Fayr at that conference. And I was at that time well acquainted with the competitor that he won't name, but I will, because our family wizard has been around forever. And I remember when it came out, as a family law attorney, I was like super excited by this idea of something that was going to help my client have a better path to communication. And unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, it just doesn't work well. And so it actually exacerbated a problem, because when it doesn't work well and communication is actually hindered because of the technology that we were trying to use, it actually took a bad situation and made it worse. So I got very excited about what Michael has created, because it creates an open pathway for parents to communicate very simply and takes out a lot of that emotional content for them. It doesn't, because what happens for so many parents, and I'll be honest with you, Kate is the communication expert. Like if there's a person out there who can talk about communication, it's Kate Anthony. But I will say that the one thing that for me with clients is, if you let them pick up the phone and get into it, very often they're going to devolve into 10 years ago, this is what you did. And you know what, you forgot to do this. And, you never took the garbage out. And they're not talking about their kids anymore. Right. And so that's one of the things the app does so beautifully, is it really streamlines the path to communication. For some people, maybe eventually they need to pick up the phone, but starting out in that text format, is brilliant. And as an attorney, I do also have to point out, you can download everything. And this is, as an attorney, of critical importance, because and it's not just the communication that can be downloaded into a report. The financial stuff can be downloaded into reports, the calendaring, everything can be downloaded into court-ready reports that are admissible, that streamline everything. So the idea that it saves time, money, effort, and just knowing that there's that accountability, like all of this is being tracked and all of this is being recorded, I think in some ways also fosters better behavior in some cases, or at least you like to think so.
So the communication expert, Kate Anthony, spill it.
Here's the thing.
Preach, girl.
I think that what Fayr does, right, is often takes the heat out of stuff, right? When you're trying to communicate directly with someone that you have an active resentment with, which is most of us getting divorced, right? That's kind of the deal, right? And, even in the best of circumstances, my ex and I had huge, horrible fights in the first couple of years, and we get along really well now, but, huge fights. And if it was just right, if there wasn't he said, she said, if it was literally, if you take the heat out of it, you take the feelings out of it, you sort of suck it out, like pull out all of the emotional stuff, and it's just the what, the how, the where, the when, right? And take all of the heat, and that's what the brilliance, I think, of Fayr is. The GPS tracking in and of itself, Michael, which was born out of your personal experience, is genius, right? Like it Fayr sort of blocks so many of the ways in which people go after each other, right? The he said, she said. I get screenshots, I get forwarded messages, just strings and streams of abuses and miscommunications and stuff that doesn't make sense. And you're talking, like you said, like you're talking about, what time can we pick up on Friday? And then all of a sudden it's all about, the last 6 years of abuses or whatever. And like, who fucking cares? What time are we picking up on Friday? And when you know that other people's eyes are going to be on this, people tend to behave better.
Yeah. I do need to offer some clarity in which just on the way we describe it. You said GPS tracker. I've gotten a lot of heat for this. So just to be clear, it's GPS check-in.
GPS what?
Check-in, not a tracker. You don't have the ability to just track the other person. That was one of I actually lose sales sometimes because of that. I do sometimes feel like I don't want them tracking me. I'm not using that. I have to clarify that what it allows you to do. And the story behind it is this, because actually people seem to like this story. It's like we're talking 10 years ago now, or maybe 9 years ago, I guess. We were in a custody exchange agreement that I was supposed to drop the children off 43 miles away from me where I live, within a 2-hour window. So I literally drove 43 miles down there within that 2-hour window, and I'm sitting outside my co-parents' parents' house where she was, and I sat there for 30 minutes, and nobody's picking up the phone, nobody's answering the door, nobody's responding to messages, and so after 30 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm going home. So I turn around, drive 43 miles back home, and upon getting home, I get a call from my attorney, who had just been contacted by her attorney saying I'm in violation of a court order. I'm in contempt of court basically because of this. And so I said, no, I was there. And they said, well, they're saying you weren't there. I said, no, I was absolutely there. And of course, we had a hearing coming up, and the material fact is they weren't dropped off. So this could have completely altered my whole future, because it just doesn't look, it's not a good look. But fortunately, I'd taken a toll road, so I was able to pull my toll records and show that I'd exited a toll at a certain time, and I was basically relieved of this particular accusation. But I thought to myself, man, what if I had taken the Palmetto? It's not a toll road. I mean, man, I would have been stuck. There's just no way I would have been able to prove anything, and it would have been completely up to a judge's subjectivity as to whether I'm lying, machine lying. Who knows? And you just don't know. Those little tiny things like that can go all over the place. And even though I got through that with no problem, I still had to pay $800 that day in legal fees for nothing. And in the future, like they said, well, in the future, stop by McDonald's and buy $1 French fries and save the receipt. And I thought, man, that sucks. It still doesn't put me right there. And McDonald's could be 3 miles down the road. You could live out in the boondocks. Maybe there's nothing around there. This is not a viable system. And there was no other product out there that had this feature. And with Facebook's check-in, you could check yourself in at the Eiffel Tower right now. I mean, it's not. But with Fayr, like I could have pulled out my phone, dropped a pin. My co-parent would instantly get a push notification to her phone saying, boom, look, he's there. That's it. No problem. No phone calls to attorneys. $800 right there would have been saved that day. So there's just so much problems that feature can mitigate. People accuse each other of never showing up to parent-teacher conferences on time. If you want to prove that you were different places on time, that feature allows you to check in, and it's completely, you cannot manipulate it, and it's incontestable.
So really quick, little side note, Nikki DeBartolo, my
ex-wife
co-author, is on the stream, but not sitting right here. She just said, do you all miss me tonight? Everybody but me.
Yeah.
I love it when she can't talk back. See, this is beautiful. Talk about communication. This is the best way.
I think just look at your phone. You're getting the text messages right now. She's communicating.
Right. Best way to communicate is not the co part of it, just one way. By the way, I just have to also say that Michael's background is not a green screen or that is a real background. So if you want to, I think there's a Twitter account that says it's called Rate My Background on Zoom. But Michael would obviously win because that looks like something that you would actually get on a package for backgrounds. And there's of course my wife saying she misses Nikki DeBartolo. So welcome to my world. All right, so let's get to this communication problem or how to solve it in a constructive way. I mean, I guess there's the way that Nikki and I did it, which was face-to-face on the phone, which I totally get can lead to as big of FUs and everything else as possible. And then there's the text and email where you can add your own. If you see somebody as a jerk or a mean person, that's the way you're going to read a text, right? Or an email. So Kate, being the communication, where is the middle ground for constructive co-communication?
Well, I mean, I think it's very much dependent on the situation, right? And like where the heat is and where the issues are and where, your particular, I mean, I get tons of women sending me screenshots of their communication, and they're like, see where he turned it in,
right.
And he became the asshole. And, I don't really pull punches. I say, well, actually, you see where, like a couple of texts back, you kind of started poking the bear.
So
and so if bear's poked, it's going to lash out. So, I think we have to be all responsible for our own communication, right? And really be conscious of keeping it about the kids.
Yep.
And, keeping it about what the topic at hand, right? And if you're going into you always and you never, that's
if only, shoulding all over yourself, right.
Shooting all over yourself, right. Shooting all over the other person, right? And so you really want to think about, what's your end game here? What is the goal of this communication? Is the goal of this piece of communication to create a plan for pickup and drop off, right? Or is that sort of the pretense of the goal, but really what you want is to like drive a dagger in somewhere, right? And you got to be honest with yourself, and that's the thing. That's the hardest part, is actually being honest with yourself. Like, well, actually, I kind of want to get this dig in. Like, okay, like get it out there. Like at least admit it to yourself that what you really want is to get the dig in, right? And then know that if you get that dig in, you're opening yourself up.
I sure hope Nikki's still listening. Susan, which is such a good point, Kate, about the sort of analysis of the communication, lack of a better word, post-mortem, right? After it's already been done, after it's already been sent. In mediation, is there any, do you ever use that tool, or is that just not something that where you're looking, sort of teaching people how to, like, okay, well, here's where you did, or is that Kate's arena?
No, I mean, in mediation, we actually do it quite a bit. I've always said that one of the big benefits of mediation for a divorcing couple that has children is that in mediation, they're actually going to start to learn new ways to communicate, right? So when I have a couple who's getting divorced sitting in the same room, it's the same thing that Kate just described. A lot of bear poking goes on, trust me. But my mediator, as a mediator, part of my role is to, we use this phrase, reframe what was just said and pull out what the actual important part was. Like, well, Betty, what I heard you saying to Bob was, and then putting that in terms. Now, did you, were you trying to, Kate's point is a perfect one. Is your goal here to come up with a parenting plan or figure out what we're going to do over the Christmas holidays? Or is it to look to the past and rehash what's happened to get you here? Because we know, obviously, a lot has happened to get you here. But, as we talked about at the beginning, we're looking forward, not backwards. So we spend an awful lot of time doing that in mediation with them together. And you actually will find in sessions that go on, over more than one session, 2 sessions, 3 sessions, they will actually start correcting themselves or reframing themselves. They'll get through a sentence and they'll go, wait, what I meant to say was, or what
Good.
And you teach them the I's. I mean, Kate has, I know, a ton of tools, using the I's instead of the U's. And there's a great number of tools that can help people. Biffing. I'm the queen of biff. If I haven't taught everybody how to biff, I don't feel like I've had a good day. So
explain that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right. So Bill Eddy is the king of high conflict divorce, but he has a number of books. And for anyone out there who hasn't heard of Bill Eddy and is having trouble with their ex, read any one of Bill's books. But yes, biff. If I were in my home office, I'd be doing the same thing. I keep it next.
Queens of just like pulling the books off our shelf.
Yep. I mean, there are certain books that are always by my side when I mediate. That is one of them. I give that book out like candy. But it stands for Brief, Informative, Friendly, but Firm. And that is what your communication responses or discussions with your ex should be. It should be brief. It should be informative only. It should be friendly or at least cordial, not inflammatory, and it should be firm. So usually what happens when I'm working with clients is I will get, like Kate is talking about, the text messages or the emails that go on, for pages. And I can usually go into that, pull out 2 sentences maybe that are actually on point and helpful and communicative in a way that's going to move things forward, get rid of the rest, and that would be the BIF method: brief, informative, friendly, but firm. It's the first thing that every parent, especially one dealing with a high conflict ex, needs to learn. But every parent needs to learn it. All that other stuff about you're a jerk and I hate your mother and this is all your fault, it's never going to move you forward on co-parenting your children.
And I just want to piggybacking off of that is I also want to speak to sort of with compassion and empathy to people who, like, half the time when someone is vomiting out these streams of texts and really what they're, the most important part is like this, right? They have a lot of anger. They've got a lot of resentment. They've got a lot of, unless they're like the NPD borderline personality, right? But if it's just, somebody who just has so much pent up rage and doesn't feel like they've ever been heard and all of that, right? And this is sort of their opportunity, find a place, find a useful place, because 9 times out of 10, what people are trying to do is to get their ex or their soon to be ex to finally get the pain and the frustration and whatever that they've caused them. And the bottom line is they're not going to get it. And all of that trying and all of those texts, all of that energy and effort that is put into trying to get the person who has not understood or, held your communication for the last how many, 10 years or so, right? It's useless. It's not going to happen. So find somewhere else to do that. Find a coach, find a therapist, find someone who can be a container for that for you. And know that your soon to be ex, your co-parent, it's not that person. It's just not going to be that person.
That's such a good point. That is so key to everything. I think if people heard nothing else out of any show we ever had, that point is critical. Critical.
And so the art of communication, in your experience, with apps like Fayr and resources like coaches and doing mediation instead of traditional or even is a way that, or at least can be learned. Is that the hope, or is that the experience?
Who are you asking?
Let's go with Susan. And then I want to hear. I want to know, Michael. Get Michael in this, but this is a good conversation right now.
I mean, I absolutely think so, unless you're dealing with a truly high conflict personality. In those particular instances, what you're going to learn to do is manage your own responses to the situation. But yes, anybody. I mean, you have to learn new ways of communicating. The relationship has changed. What didn't work for you in the past is also not going to work for you going forward. And most people, by the time they've gotten to this point of divorce, their communication, whether it was ever good, and sometimes it was and many times it wasn't, it truly is usually pretty dismal by the time they get to the point of divorce. And so they have to start forging some new pathways. That's why what method they choose to get divorced can be so critical. I always say, if you choose to go and put your life into the hands of an attorney who's then going to go out and communicate for you, yep, all you're really learning how to do is let someone else communicate for you. And it's not a particularly helpful way unless you want to have that attorney on permanent retainer for the rest of your co-parenting life. It's not really in a very effective way. It's great for the attorney. Not so great for you.
There's one winner.
Yeah. Right. But that's, so learning a different way. And if you can use technology like Fayr to do it, which helps you right off the bat, in so many different ways. It just, it will move you forward faster, because all you can do is manage your side of the communication. But you have to manage your side of the communication. And I agree 100% with what Kate's saying. That can be difficult at times. Sometimes we just want to get our own back. But at some point, when you take that time and you have to type it out with your thumb into a text in a app, it gives you that moment of being able to at least think before you hit send.
Well, and I think that's a lesson. No, I think that's a lesson, at least for everybody, not even in divorce, right? Whether it's a personal relationship, and you, like what I try to do, especially with email, I don't do it so much with text, I'm not as good, but is throwing it in the drafts folder. Everybody's got a drafts folder, and then revisiting it in 24 hours, or maybe it's maybe not quite 24 hours, but then reading it and reading it again to make sure that it's what I want to say, and analyzing it maybe from a different spur of the moment perspective, but yeah, taking that time. Now, Michael, with Fayr, again, this is not mean to be flippant. A lot of times I get caught in the happy divorce sort of fairyland world, and the resistance of people having to do something, right? Versus wanting to do something,
right?
And is there obstacles, and not just maybe your app, but in general, when you're told to do something, that this is the way you have to communicate? Are there some obstacles there that
the problem is, I think there, historically speaking, up to this point, there's been a bit of a stigma about being somebody who's being told, or something like Fayr being written into your settlement agreement, say your parenting agreement. And that stigma is, I'm one of the bad kids. I'm in the corner. I have to communicate with this because I'm just so out of control that this is what you have to do. So there's just that negative stigma surrounded it. But we are entering, the tide is changing, because people having children now are people, they're millennials. They're used to, they've been texting for, I don't know, how long has text been out? 10 years? I don't know. The App Store launched in 2009. So whatever. The point is, we're used to using apps collaboratively, either professionally, socially. And so this app is just one that's been designed specifically for this area of life. And I getting back to Susan, it is important. I one time hiked the Rocky Mountains. It was a phenomenal experience. But before we went out there, I was from the D.C. area, Washington, D.C. So I'm now out in the Rockies, and they had to debrief us on rattlesnakes. They said, if you get bitten by a rattlesnake, the worst thing you can do is try to get back at it. Don't chase the snake. You just got to calm down, because it's chasing the snake that causes the venom to go to the heart. So these things I had to learn before I hiked this 135-mile trail, and we did it over the course of 2 weeks. And it was, I never forgot that. I said, yeah, if you chase it, if you try to get back at it, it's going to kill you. And the same thing is true here. When you get bitten and you feel that way, no response, just disengage, or write something and send it to a friend. Have them review it.
Or
what
coach.
A great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have my clients send them to me. I'm like, send it to me before you send anything to him. Send it to me. I want to read it before it goes out. It works. It's really effective because, first of all, they think, and I think that is exactly what Fayr does. It makes them think like, oh, if I have to send this to Kate first, and Kate's reading it first, what do I want to say? Because I don't want to say the bad things, right, for Kate. So it's like that's exactly the thought that you want to have. You don't want to say the bad things on the app.
Well, it just adds a layer of protection. See, most of the time when you're communicating either email, which, emails, your attorney will tell you to use those because they're admissible, and text messages can be manipulated. They can be deleted, and anything you put in Fayr cannot be deleted. And I think that makes people a little more careful about what they write. And secondly, Fayr has so many other streams for communicating. So if I'm telling you got to pay me for something, it's not, hey, you owe me this. That's out of the equation. I just uploaded something, and the pie chart changed, and then the co-parent gets a notification. They look at the pie chart. Oh, look at that! I owe, they've spent more than me. I owe them. So now I've removed that entire conversation from having to be written out on the subject of money, right? Or if it's something like, hey, you need to be at the soccer field at 7:00 on Wednesday night for the next 3 months. Rather than me having to write all of that out, I just set it, and then they get the notifications. And if I put in there, hey, don't forget the cleats or whatever, any kind of notes or whatever you need them to bring, that's it. I've just removed the need to communicate either more verbally or communicate more in writing myself. So text messages become simply reserved for on-the-go communication, because everything else could take the place of that.
Right. And when you're talking about that, Michael, I just want to clarify that when you're talking about, what you're talking about is that Fayr has a calendar in it.
Yeah, the co-parenting calendar.
Inputting soccer at 7:00 on Wednesdays, and it's not even like there's no conversation. It's just like, well, that's the schedule.
That.
Right.
Yeah, and the day before it comes, you can see, I mean, all the notifications there, so you can see, hey, it's coming up. Oh, look at that. It gets a push notification on my phone, tells me there's the note that I'm supposed to bring something. And it's just laid out day by day by day for you. So you don't have to go cruising through your messages all the way back 2 weeks ago to figure out what's going on, trying to find that conversation.
Totally.
Yeah.
And there's another thing that actually I think is really crucial that Fayr does with the calendar. Michael, explain, if you can, well, I know you can, the way that parents can exchange dates. Like, this is supposed to be, because that, to me, is really brilliant and really reduces conflict.
Yeah, well, people ask me what's the difference, because in essence, Fayr's kind of taken the place of Google Calendar, Google Spreadsheets, your email, and all of these functions we're used to using. Well, our calendar, how it differentiates. By the way, it does link with your either iCal or Google Calendar as well. So the way that would work is anything you put into Fayr, you would also see in your Google Calendar or iCalendar, but not the other way around. So anything you have going on in your personal life, it's not like your co-parent is seeing that. So that's all integrated properly. Well, the way it works is how it differentiates is I can go up front and set my entire, until my kids are 18, I can set up every holiday, every birthday, Thanksgiving, have it alternate every year. So even years it's mom's, odd years it's dad's. And if there's this season of, I'll say soccer again, if it's going to begin on this date, end on that date, and maybe it's every Thursday, every week, every other week, every month, every other month, every year. I mean, everything can be set up in the beginning. And then boom, you're on like co-parenting autopilot, and it populates all of those days. Mom's days are in one color, dad's days are in another color. And if dad needs to go out of town on business or something, he need only select his day. He can say request to release the day or forfeit the day. And the mom would instantly get a notification. If she accepts it, it changes to her color. Now she's the one who's going to get, that time is going to be allocated to her bank, so to speak. And so it doesn't go back to dad unless she releases it again. And why this is so important is that eventually you'll be in court for a motion for modification for child support, so to speak. And both parties are like, I have the kids 60% of the time. And reconstructing that history is impossible. It's just impossible. You'll never be able to do it. But with Fayr, as both parties using this, the app will tell you down to the minute who's had how many days, hours, and minutes versus we send actually everybody a monthly report just so they can see the status report, how many expenses were logged, how many calendar dates were allocated to mom or dad, or it's just a progress report everybody gets to see. And those are, there's no charge for that stuff. It's all part of the regular subscription. We do charge subscription because we don't sell user data. Everything you log into Fayr is completely confidential, encrypted, and you don't have to worry about it being sold. Because we have like the file vault, so you could have vital documents in there if you wanted. And so we want to keep all this stuff very private for our users.
Some of your competitors do sell the user data.
Some of our competitors. I mean, just remember, and nothing's free. If they're not selling you a product, you are the product. That's how it works. That's how it works in the tech world. I mean, nothing's free.
And I think and thank you, Susan, for bringing that up, because Michael, one of our first conversations, was what do you do with data?
It was. You're right. I remember
that could be a whole nother live stream about the importance and the monetary value that your data has.
Absolutely.
And other companies, when you get a free app and you use it. I love what you just said. About what was it, Mike? you said
Yeah,
before,
if they're not selling you a product, you are the product.
Or the product.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what they're selling. Yeah.
Touch on the we have the file vault and the private journal, because I think those are unique.
Yeah, so
the
the file vault, I mean, you can upload PDFs, you can keep notes, you can upload images, anything that you want your co-parent to also be able to access. So the file vault's a great place just to keep the parenting agreement. If you ever want to reference it later, just upload the parenting agreement. You're both able to see it. You can put birth certificates in there. Oftentimes I'm caught, like right now during COVID, it'd be helpful to know what kind of blood type your kids are. You can have all of that in there. The file vault, just anything you want in there that's going to be shared by both parties, and you want it secure. The difference between that and the private journal is anything put in the private journal is for your eyes only. So if there's some kind of something going on that you don't necessarily want them to see because maybe it's going to be contentious, you just go ahead and put it there. If there are pictures, images, anything you want in there that you may end up using maybe for litigation later on, put it in the private journal, and at least it's all in one spot. So when you need to export it, you just go to you can go to the exports and just click on, export my expenses, my calendar, my check-ins, all my messages, and my private journal, and you can export all of it. You have a beautiful PDF laid out with all of that stuff there.
So
I'd like to point. Sorry.
No, please.
I just wanted to say about the journal, because as an attorney, journaling is actually something that we have our clients do when we think there's going to be litigation coming down the road. Because when you're putting together a case around parenting time, or did I disappear?
No, you're there.
You're there.
I disappeared.
No, you're there.
You're there. We see you, Susan.
We got you.
Uh-oh. She doesn't see us.
Yeah. I think maybe she's got Susan.
So now she's frozen a little bit. But that's we'll get back to it. So the one thing, Michael, I wanted to touch on that I think is when we talked in the beginning, I don't know what I repeated because we were on mute, but this was built through experience. Through your experience of a high conflict, 12 years in the making or however long of court battles, spending money, high conflict. And so it wasn't, built, I guess, off of, an analytics lab or whatever. This is through your personal experience. And I think that's what, just like Nikki and my story, is just our experience. You took, maybe some missteps, not missteps, but some problem areas that maybe you saw with your ex and put them into this app.
Oh, I mean, for sure. I mean, we learn most in life from our own personal experiences. Right. At least you hope so. But those are the triggers that make us reactive, emotional, impulsive. And what I wanted to do is just remove that from my life, because there's too many nights spent, in an anxious state of mind. And this was my way of just being able to sleep better, not worrying about being misrepresented, because especially from the perspective of a man, I mean, you already feel like there's a bent against men in the system. And so just going into things, you feel like, okay, I'm already like 75% cooked coming into this sort of thing. And so this just was able to give me a little peace of mind after creating it. And I actually really enjoy, I offer my email out to our users all the time, because I really like them messaging me and letting me know, because I'm one person from one set of life experiences.
Right.
And it just helps a lot to learn what they go through. Now, I'm blown away sometimes by the things they say. We've actually made tweaks to the app on several occasions due to user feedback.
Oh, that's really good. One of the things that I think also is really unique about Fayr, and I know that it was something that Michael was conscious of, was how calming and beautiful the colors are.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not, it may sound like, trite, but it's actually not, right? Because I think that it's, there's the way that our brain processes information. And when you've got like jarring, abrasive colors, it will sort of, it can sort of, create feelings. It gives you feelings, right? But these very muted pastel tones that you've used are just for calming colors.
No, a lot of thought goes into that. When you think about it, I mean, like, why is every fast food joint, they all incorporate red? I mean, it's psychologically effective, and there's a lot of studies that go into this stuff. We are, we are creatures that are affected by colors. I mean, just where you're sitting right now, everybody can understand what it's like the first time you walk into a spa, and it's like calming, it's soothing atmosphere, and the tones really affect us, and whether it feels clean or whether it feels good. And then other things make you feel very dark. And so with Fayr, I mean, a lot of thought went into making this app psychologically conflict diffusing. You mentioned the soft color tones and their casual fonts. Everything has rounded edges. It's meant to be low conflict.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So what's, obviously you and I have had some discussions, and what's next? I mean, there's, what would you, if you could sort of clap your Fayr hands and Michael Daniels hands and whatever.
Wave that magic wand.
Magic wand,
that magic
finger.
Man, it's you, man. You are the next step. Honestly, you're the next piece of the pie, because I got to figure out a way to make, because I think right now this makes the situation better for people without a doubt. But I want to make it actually a good thing. I know right now, people still look down and say, "Oh, it's a Fayr notification." Shit, they know where it's coming from, right? And I want to provide true daily value to people. To their lives. So maybe our onboarding system is going to get more robust. We're going to learn more about our users, not for any kind of monetary reason, but just truly to provide you with resources daily. So as you onboard, we're going to find out a little bit about you, your kids' needs. Maybe you have a child with a disability. Maybe you have, maybe you never were married. Maybe it was a one-night stand. We don't know, but your needs of knowing how to navigate this are going to be different. And so by learning a little more about you, we're going to provide you daily resources. Some people are visual learners. Some people are going to want to get blogs. Some people would rather get YouTube links and just watch things. So I think that's what we're going to do, is we're really going to try to achieve our happy, divorced, utopian world. I mean, we are.
Look, I think that there is, and that's why it's so important, for to have conversations from you and I in our squares diagonal, and then the professionals who also have experience, right? But create, some sort of solution based, because we can live in the problem, and we can live in this, Susan, you lived in the problem for a long time, and now the solution, for you is mediation. And I just think that at some point, I think we've all agreed that no matter what, utopian dream world that our happy divorce lives in, the sea is changing, and there is a move towards away from the status quo. And so whether that's teaching people to communicate through coaching, incorporating it into the mediation, the process, to then going out after the hour mediation, and how do you behave? I could put on my best suit and look good and sit in mediation and sound good, but what do I do the rest of the 23 hours of the day? And how do I communicate with Nikki the rest of the time? So I think it's got to be a learned process. But I do think that there is an opportunity not only to make some meaningful change, and that's why I'm lucky that Kate and Susan come on with me every day and have been allies, just like you. And there's so many other people that are doing this kind of work. And, it's amazing what you've created. And I only think it can get better, especially when you got advisors like these two.
I know I'm very fortunate. I really am. These two they are truly experts. I've enjoyed learning from them. I think I've grown a lot in the couple of years that I've known Susan, and I guess I've known Kate. Kate, I mentioned about a year ago now. How long has it been?
About a year,
yeah, about a year ago. Yeah. They're just wonderful people, and they're well intended, and they've been in this space. They know how ugly it can get, and they've consciously made a decision to pivot themselves and try to make a meaningful impact.
Yeah. Well, and so there's a reason why. I mean, Kate and I are advisors and supporters of Fayr, but if you go and look at the list of people that are on the Fayr, I'll call it the Fayr bandwagon. I mean, what Michael's doing and has done, and the way he's innovated and made changes to truly make families' lives better. I think that's why everybody's so enthusiastic. It's what Michael has achieved here and what he continues. It's not a static, like you just said. There's always something new in the pipeline. There's always some desire to bring more to the users' lives and to make their lives better and their families' lives better. And really, most importantly, and I know this about Michael, I know how important his children are to him. He really wants to make the children's lives better, and it comes through in everything that Fayr does.
Right, and the advisor list. I think it's I told Michael this from the day we met. There's a reason that the Susan Guthrie's, Kate Anthony's, Aaron Levine. I mean, just the list goes on and on. Are part of Fayr isn't because Michael pays really well. I mean, it's because of the authenticity. It's because quite frankly, they could. He's not the only app in the space, right? And with the reputation that a lot of his advisors could have their pick of the litter, but have chosen Fayr.
Yes, and right? I will say from my perspective, that is entirely because of the app is amazing, but it's also because of Michael. Michael is not a tech guy who saw an opportunity in the divorce space and created an app. He is a dad who was going through his own contentious, divorce and having to co-parent and having to figure this shit out, and saw a hole in the space and filled the hole from experience. And for me, that's part of, that's sort of the importance in this divorce family that we are creating as professionals, or have created as professionals, right? And that's, for me, the beauty of Fayr is Michael. This is just a Michael love fest.
It is.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling so good right now.
It's payback for the Fayr thing on Thursday. And by the way, he's so authentic. That is his real background. That is not a Zoom green screen. That is not. that is his.
No virtual background.
No virtual. But thank you. No virtual.
Singing at that piano, like that is the real deal.
That's the real deal. Yeah, I've had that piano since I was 4 years old.
Wow, and it's not just for decoration. Your daughter, Michael's daughter, incredible singer.
Yeah, she sings. My son actually jams on the guitar, and he just got a mandolin today, so he's now going to learn.
Because everyone has a mandolin,
right? It's like my
son is sort of a guitar player and piano, and he plays piano.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
Songwriter. Oh yeah, he's amazing.
It's my 3-year-old wanted is for some reason loves music and it has the bug, but he wanted a banjo.
Oh wow!
I didn't even know. And an accordion. Right, because every 3-year-old wants a banjo and accordion for Christmas.
Why not?
Right, why not? Michael, where can people find everything about Fayr? And is there? I don't mean to put you on the spot now, but is there a discount available? For anybody watching?
I need to make a custom one for you. I kept looking at Our Happy because it has to be 8 digits, 8 figure, whatever. And I'm looking at Our Happy and like, I don't know how to make one here. But no, you can use Susan's. Susan's got a 20% discount code. So if you go to fayr.com, you can learn more about us. We'll have links there that'll actually send you to befayr.com. And we have we also didn't mention that we have a professional portal that's free. So if your attorney needs to link and see what's going on, they can create an account and they can monitor what's going on. The court sometimes do that, and both parties. It's not like your co-parent can do it. Everybody has to know who's on. You have to approve it. So don't feel like you can be spied on without your knowledge. Well, once they're in there, they can, but you have to at least know that they're linked. But yeah, you can go to fayr.com. It'll send you to befayr.com. You can create an account. You can use the code. Kate, I think you have a code too. I'm trying to remember what yours was.
I don't remember what it is though.
Yeah, well, we'll put it in the link of this. But I know Susan is Susan G for Susan Guthrie, so Susan G 18. So she got her code back in 2018.
I was going to say back when I first met you. So I've got an old code.
You got an old code.
I was just about to ask where that number came from,
Yeah,
but is
so
it? You know,
Susan G18. If you stick that in, you'll get a 20% discount on any of our subscriptions. So it basically comes out to $7.99 a month, $79 a year, or we have $199 for 3 years. And we are of all the apps that charge, we are the best app at the best value for sure. We are the better app for a better price. That's what I went at this to do. So.
and it's just so everybody know, and I think it's on the on your little overlay, but it's FAYR.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And so what's the portal is BeFair? Is that for professionals or is that just a redirect?
No, that's you mean the befair.com?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a redirect because we're going to have several products on there, and so yes, but you'll have that link if you go to our website. That way you can at least read more about us. You know who's in the company, what it does. If you're a professional, you can go there and sign up for your own code, and you can get your own code to give your clients. Yeah, we have a lot of resources there. We have a blog there, but befair.com is just basically for processing and onboarding new clients, new users.
All right, and then of course. Look, 1 hour on the dot.
1 hour
Promise.
on the dot. Wow.
You know, if anything more, I got to pay Susan and Kate overtime, and the budget just doesn't allow for overtime.
Well, you guys are on fire. Just as we've been sitting here, I just got 2 new accounts with Kate's code. Kate, look at that.
Yay, Kate. See,
Kate.
you have a code.
Look at that. You do have a code.
Because I have it linked somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, you have it linked somewhere. Yep. You got it. Very cool.
See, it works.
2 new ones.
Oh my God, that's great.
There we go. Ring the cash register.
Thank you very much, Ben.
Well, it's, Michael, thank you for being on it, the stream today. And look, communication is the key. And it was for Nikki and I. It was I think it is in high conflicts. And if you can communicate right, I think you're going to give yourself a shot at least of having a good outcome. But without it, I don't think it's possible. And Susan and Kate and everybody. I think yesterday, I know yesterday was National Parents Day. So everybody, Michael, Susan, Kate, happy Parents Day, National Parents Day, although I don't really understand what it's about because we still have to parent the rest of the 364 days of the year. So.
Right. Did our kids know about this? Did they
I was
send?
going to say, I didn't see my card.
I know.
I think that's a little bit Mother's Day. Like, I think depending on how wise your kid is, they say, well, you had Father's Day, you had Mother's Day.
How many days do you need?
How many more days do you need?
More.
Yeah. But happy National Parents Day, whatever that means. And, your dedication as a parent shows in what you guys are doing. And you guys are all inspirations. So thank you.
You too.
You are
Fair or Fair.
And Nikki. And Nadia,
Nikki,
and
wherever
Chad.
you are.
And Chad.
And Chad and Nadia. But FAYR.com. Michael, thank you. Susan and Kate, thank you. And we'll be here next week. I think next week we're going to have the big one and talk with our kids.
That'll be a fun one.
And the impact of divorce.
A kid.
I would
Bring the kids.
I would have brought Vincenza. Vincenza would have loved this. No.
No, she's on our list, Michael.
Oh, she?
Kids.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
She's not. Yeah, well, we're just gonna throw all of our kids in.
Every kid.
Awesome.
They're gonna talk so much
I'll
smack
get all
about
3
us.
triplets.
Who's your favorite parent? No, all right, guys. That's always a good question. Thank you, guys.
All right,
and
guys.
thank you for watching. And next time, same time, 8 o'clock Monday nights. Have a good night.